H-A-T. It's in the name.
Welcome in to the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about the January blues, post-holiday doldrums, you might call them. And we'll talk with All-Pro Counselor Ben Hayes right after these important messages.
Christmas.
This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu.
I'm Travis Creasy from Fayetteville, Tennessee, Riverside Church of Christ, Riverside Christian Academy. Minister there for several years, coming up on 2 decades. Ooh, wow, did I say that out loud? We're approaching that, right?
Yeah.
That's a little far in the distance, but people put up with us. And that's All-Pro Counselor with 3-Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. Also pulpit minister at Highland Park Church of Christ as well.
Also approaching 2 decades, not quite, but
yes.
Yeah, 16 years.
So as I mentioned in the intro, Ben, going to talk a little bit about the January blues. And I will say CYC Dallas, CYC Pigeon Forge have certainly helped with that.
It helps a lot.
Because it's a fun trip. It's something to look forward to. But I can remember being a kid and even as a kid, Christmas ends. It used to be that football ended.
That's true.
Right? That helps now. It used to that it
get
ended
a little
at
bit more
some
of it.
point,
Yeah.
like January 1st, college football, which is my favorite sport, or at least was, ended. And then the Super Bowl was not that far after. But at the time, I really didn't care that much for NFL. But I remember being as a kid, like January, February, and even March, really, were very difficult for me because April was my birthday. Then you're in the home stretch because school ends in May, and then we went to Camp Maywood in June, and then it was kind of a little, crash after that, and then got ready for playing football on again. So I don't struggle with it nearly as much, but when the sun kind of goes away and it's behind the clouds, and then of course you got the holidays and they end, which, more and more as an adult, I realize there are people out there who that's something to celebrate. A lot of people are like, the holidays are over. Yeah. And they actually feel better. And maybe you're in that situation. If so, we certainly don't want to hurt that. But there are, I would say, a good group of people out there that struggle. And actually, it is connected to a lack of sunlight. And that's something I've realized.
Definitely.
As a youth minister, I'd have kids that were completely different in January and February, and they were actually diagnosed with that it was connected to the lack of sunlight. So,
Yeah, I mean, sunlight helps release, vitamin B, I believe it is, B12 maybe, that gets released, from your body, but into your system when a sunlight hits your skin. And so, the lack of that is definitely difficult. The good thing is, like December 21st, I believe, was the winter solstice, which means it
go check
flips.
out that Friday refresh, the darkest
day.
day, Ben Hayes. It was nice.
Yeah, and so it kind of flips the switch and it starts getting longer again because, we know how the days just seem like they're so short right now. And so they'll start getting longer again. So we have that to look forward to. So some of it is looking forward and going, hey, this is not going to last forever. I think I said that one on the Friday refresh. So, but yeah, I agree with you. January and February have always been kind of difficult, but the last, I don't know how many years now with CYC, especially the last, 8 years or so with CYC Dallas. Is it even been going that long? Something like that. That's helped a lot because it's January, and man, that is such a fun trip.
Shout out to you, Larry Davenport.
You're the
for
man.
Making life better.
Thanks for saving the winter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, a lot of people are starting that new. We talked about on the last podcast. Start off the year trying to change some things, and maybe that's still going for you. Maybe you're a weekend, you're like, man, there's no stopping me. Maybe you're like I've been in the past and get around the 7th or the 10th, and I kind of hit a wall. Maybe I'm not going to be able to keep that going. Maybe it's just one day you've missed. There's still. Let's just get back on track. That's what it is. But also remember that you're gonna have some struggles. That's why it's a goal, right? There are obstacles to overcome. But every day's a gift, and even the struggles that come along with it, we can learn from those things and kind of move on. And so we want to find ourselves doing positive things, regardless of how impactful we may view them. If it's something that helps you, I know we kind of laugh at people who leave their Christmas lights up past the holidays, but I have seen an uptick. I think my Uncle Danny, he has one of those things you stick in the yard, and it has lights that hit your house, and it has a setting for Christmas, Easter. It's got like all the holidays. I was like, man, I need one of those, because you just switch that thing over and it shoots something else up on the side of your house.
One of our guys here just installed lights around his house, and they're like permanent installs. They go, under the kind of the awning or whatever where the roof comes down, and they go all the way around, and he's got the same thing. He can switch the setting. He can do any colors, and he can do any kind of
and that's the
rotation.
Technology.
And so he just keeps them up so they can be white. If you just want them to do white around your house at some point, he can do the Christmas lights, just pretty much anything. So they just stay up.
Yeah.
So that's a beautiful thing. So there is that, and that's a good thing. I think, when we go back to kind of what we talked about last week a little bit as we get started with this one, is I think it's so important, when we're getting through the holidays. And then, for me, you were talking about how long it was. I guess I played baseball, so I didn't dread it as much when I was in high school. But even now, it's kind of like you get through Christmas break, and other than that little small week that you get off for, the spring break week, man, it feels like January to May until school. Because I still work at a school part-time. Travis is at school. It feels like we have a daunting task before us. And I think sometimes that's the way I feel like with New Year's resolutions or with other things, is you start off and it's almost like the task is too big. And so one of the things that I've probably shared in the past on here is there's a book called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, and don't agree with everything, that he does or says, but some of the things in there was just, start small. Don't bite off some huge thing, because then that's, I think, where burnout happens. I think that's kind of, we bite off too much during the holidays. Sometimes is just like our plates. We put too much on our plates and realize after we get halfway through that plate, like, I got more than I can really eat. And I think that's what we do with some of our goals. And so he talks about just small things, like start with a small 1 or 2 goals. Start with this corner of my room I'm going to get clean before I start branching out. And then he uses that equation, B equals MAP, behavior equals motivation, ability, and prompting. So give yourself, have a reason that you want to do that. Motivation is huge. Make sure it's something you have the ability to do, which I think most of the time it is. And then give something that's a prompt. If it's an alarm in the morning, if it's a little poster on your mirror, if it's something on your dashboard, if you're trying to remember to pray more, there's some apps out there that can kind of alert you to that. You could put a sticky note on your dash so that when you're driving to work, you're reminded to do it. One thing you did a couple of years ago that I've still got in my phone, sometimes I just kind of see it and don't think about it because it's, become almost habit. But my phone says, be a blessing this week. I think you said something about that a couple of years ago. And, I stuck that into my phone. And so just have that prompting. So, my motivation, what is my motivation? What's the reason that I want to do this? What abilities do I have to do it, and what maybe stands in my way of that? and then what's the prompting, and then that's going to change my behavior.
Yeah, I think on the prompting, and like I said, there are some things that I make a goal, and man, I know I'm going to crush it, right? I know that's doable, and I can do that, and it gives you motivation, gives you a little gas in the tank to maybe do something that isn't
like a snowball.
Or isn't something that comes naturally to you. And I would say that maybe the opposite of that, the thing that you don't do well, chomp off a little piece here, a little piece there, and before you know it, you look up. And then add a deadline to it. Not a deadline that's going to crush you or anything like that, but something that will, I want to get this done by this point. I actually like reading books. I don't oftentimes have a lot of time to do that. But when I do think about it or I have a prompt on my phone, I try to get 10 pages read. I'm going to read 10 pages of something that I don't necessarily have to read, right? And obviously I enjoy reading the Bible and I enjoy reading books about the Bible, so that helps there. But it's not something that I have to read. It's something that I'm doing to get enjoyment out of or better myself, especially a book that can do that. Of course, we believe the Bible does that as well. If I can read 10 pages, and I think that's something that hurt me towards the end of the year when I picked up coaching football again. We had several irons in the fire of like content that we were trying to create, and I just had zero time to read much of anything. I did listen to some podcasts, but there is a little bit of difference, right? Yeah. And I love podcasts, obviously. I have several. But there's something different about taking a minute, sitting down, feeling the pages in your hand, and kind of absorbing that information. So it doesn't have to be 10. It could be 5. Yeah. It could be 1, right? Or a chapter.
And I'm kind of
anything that feeds in that fire of something that.
And some of you guys may be more like me. I'm terrible at reading. And although I have a ton of books in my office, I'm better at reading probably even shorter amounts because I get sleepy when I read, but I can listen to stories all day long. And so
use that to your advantage, right? If you get sleepy, I do the same thing.
Audible app, And so like an Audible app, I used to have a subscription to it. And if I was driving, I was listening to a book, and I could listen to books way more than I could read them. I could get more accomplished with that. Now I do a lot of podcasts. I listen to ours. I listen to some of some of the other ones that I've just kind of got hooked on through the years. Just recently started the short stories of Sherlock Holmes. And it's just like, nice. Hey, I like listening to that. It's just purely for fun. I'm not getting anything out of it other than just listening to these, mysteries and kind of enjoying them. And so that sort of thing, if you're not great at reading, then maybe, you can try Audible books or podcasts and listen to them for a few minutes just for the fun of it. It just kind of allows you to engage your brain a little bit. So
yeah, funny you mentioned that, Ben. The number one way that podcasts are shared is individual, by someone telling somebody. So do us a favor today. Maybe that's a goal.
Tell about it. Yeah.
Every day this month, you're going to tell somebody about the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast or benandtravis.com. Certainly would appreciate that. I know that when I was in the hospital in 2018, I started taking a vitamin D supplement to kind of help with that. I still
really get out.
It's kind of crazy even now. I'm sure some of you, I'm not alone. That sun goes down, especially before it flips over to going longer. There are times I'm like, man, it's like midnight and it's like 6 p.m.
No, yeah, yeah.
So even to combat that, getting things that our mind is engaged in, even if it's sometimes noise in the background. But I think that one of the keys, and I think this is any kind of mental health, right? You don't want to ostracize yourself during this time, as cold as it is and as bad as it may feel to get out. And the internet makes it possible to have relationships via the interwebs. We want all those to be healthy. But you certainly don't want to hold yourself up completely alone and by yourself. You need to get out, reach out to people, make plans, go eat with somebody, have a conversation with somebody, have some connection there.
Well, you were talking about earlier, maybe it was on the last one, but kind of the idea of reaching out to people you hadn't reached out to in a long time might be a good time because, everybody, if you're struggling with loneliness or you're struggling with the long days or the long nights with the darkness, then probably somebody else is. So it's probably a good opportunity for you to, have those connections with people It'll help you. It'll help them. I can promise you, if you're connected to a church, I can promise you that there are older people who would absolutely love for you to stop by and see them. They are just craving for attention. I've got a few people that every time I stop by, like the tears start flowing immediately, just because, they just want to see somebody. They just want to be around somebody. They want to see you. So, go stop in and check on them, because these long days, for some of our older crowd, in the church, and even if it's maybe just family members that you've got, they don't get a lot of company even when the sun's out. So, find, maybe it's a ministry for you. It'll make you feel better and make them feel better.
Make some memories in the cold. Right? Yeah. I got some great memories. Now, the funny thing is when I think of cold, I think of our trip to Alaska in May of 2023.
I liked it.
Now that was kind of weird because it was
snowing
cold,
in May.
snowing in May, threw a snowball at you or Jackson, maybe both, in Memorial Day weekend. But make those memories. I think of times during Christmas break after Christmas when we go play tackle football, which is odd to think about, that our parents would take us to a park here in Florence, no cell phone in sight, and just leave us full well knowing we were going to play tackle football 100%. For several hours. Yeah. And, they would just be back when they got back.
Look here, partner. When you want to secure your load, you don't want to trust no fancy pants or straps. You want something made real tough. Strap Outlaw ratchet straps for those who like to work hard, live wild, and don't take no guff off nobody who ain't tough enough. So when you're out there on the road and life's trying to throw your load around, trust your gear to the only strap that's tough enough for the job. StrapOutlaw.com.
Why are you talking like that?
Well, I'm doing a commercial for the toughest straps around.
Why don't you tell them to go to StrapOutlaw.com and check out all the ratchets, especially the T-grip ratchet that we got right here.
And they're veteran owned. StrapOutlaw.com.
But speaking of memories, our magicmind.com/BAT20 question of the day is, what's a story or memory you remember of trying to get something started and it just, blowing up in your face, or maybe it's an epic fail or something like that, or you can share a success. And like I said, it can be something in ministry. It could be, like mine is going to be just one instance. It didn't start very well. So,
well, for me, it would probably be that there's been several occasions that I have, every year since we've been doing the St. Jude Marathon, it ends, or we run it in the first week in December. And always my intention is, all right, I'm going to keep this up. I'm going to keep running. And so that I'm not going to be hurting, to try to do it again next year. And just about every time, March or April rolls around and I'm like, I should start back running.
Running again.
So I've done a few things since at this time, but not as much as I wanted to. That's definitely one I want to kind of stay back on track with. It's just when it's cold and it's rainy and it's, the busyness that we talked about earlier, I'm trying to slow down a little so I have some extra time to do those things. But that's probably one of the biggest ones. And the other one is just, I'm real bad at doing that, read the Bible through in a year. I always want to try to do it. I've started strong a few times. Every time it seems like my problem is probably what a lot of people's problem is. I get behind and then I just sort of like, well, it's not use, no use now, when I should just pick it up and go with it wherever I'm at. So don't do like me. Do better than that.
Well, that's one of the things, right, about the Magic Mind, that we kind of brings things into focus. I feel like I said efficiency earlier, but sometimes I feel like I'm the Flash, maybe moving around, getting things done. And that way there is time to do some of the things that I want to do. But yeah, magicmind.com/BAT20. If it's your first time to subscribe, you can get up to 48% off. It's very easy to sign up. They'll ship it right to your house. Free shipping, which I think I forgot to mention on the last episode. Free shipping. easy to cancel. I think you can even do it via text. And if you're not satisfied, there's a 100% refund is my understanding. So man, there's never been a better time to go to magicmind.com/BAT20. And once again, the energy that it gives me doesn't make me jittery. It doesn't make my head want to explode. I don't have a crash. You can replace your caffeine. It can go with your caffeine. That's kind of the approach that I have because I just love the taste of coffee. But maybe that's what you're trying to do in 2025, pass off some of the caffeine. This is going to be an excellent drink for you, very small, just a real quick shot that you can take anywhere with you at any time. I usually do mine around 10 o'clock, but like I said, it gives me a boost and makes me want to exercise and sweat a little. And I guess that would be mine anytime. Once I get going running in high school, it was fine. I could move pretty fast. The problem was my get off was so slow, right? If you've ever seen Scooby-Doo, when they get scared and their legs are just going 100 miles an hour, that's my running style. And you could go back, if I had my old high school football film, it hasn't gotten much better. You can go watch. It's like, oh, once I get going, I'm pretty quick. The problem is it takes a while.
Start
to
off
get going.
speed's a little slow.
It's a little slow. But as I said, if you're out there exercising, you're lapping the person on the couch, and maybe that person used to be you. So whatever you're doing to better yourself at this point, to push through the January blues, keep on keeping on. Hopefully this episode encourages you. If you have any ideas, we're certainly open to them.
Yeah.
Right. hello@benandtravis.com. I'm sure we'll be doing some things in the new year that we started on January 1 in the facebook.com/groups/Ben and Travis. And you can reach us in that group or at that email address I just shared. But Ben, I appreciate it. You were always a big help in my January doldrums, going to church, being in the youth group, hanging out, always helps with that. And like you said, we're so busy. It's kind of gotten to the other side where, hey, we need to probably cut some things out. But man, we stay so busy. There's videos to be done. There's podcasts to cut. There's children's books to finish, along with some other stuff that we can't quite announce yet, but certainly be on the lookout for that. Ben, I appreciate the time.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you. Looking forward to another great year together with you, together with Will and Blake, I'm sure at different times, and with you guys. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure you share it with some other folks around you. Maybe it's something that'll encourage somebody else in the new year.
Hey parents and young adventurers, are you ready to embark on an extraordinary journey? Introducing the Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Worry Coaster, a thrilling ride through the ups and downs of mental health in our new children's book. Join our dynamic duo as they navigate the twists and turns of their emotions while discovering the courage to conquer their worries. Pre-order your ticket to adventure now at benandtravis.com/books and be among the first to embark on this roller coaster of resilience. Let's turn worry into wonder and empower kids to embrace their feelings with bravery and hope. Buckle up. It's going to be an unforgettable ride.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.